Hello and welcome to episode 30 of IOnTheTigers, a podcast all about the National Ice Hockey League, but one that always has an eye on the Telford Tigers. Big news this week, or the biggest story, certainly as far as I'm concerned, 200. That's the magic number, yep. Vladimir Luka has reached 200 points for the Telford Tigers. Assist on Saturday night against Hull took him to the magic mark, so congratulations, Vladimir, on 200 points for the Tigers, and here's to many more. Looking forward to seeing you getting plenty more of those. Also around the league, there have been a few departures. So Lee Pollitt has left the Hull Seahawks. Lewis Houston has left the Solway Sharks. And I guess the breaking news story with regards to players leaving teams is Tim Smith leaving the Sheffield Steel Dogs. That one was announced today. And it looks as though, certainly if sort of rumours on social media are to be believed, there might be a few more who leave in the near future. So troubling times ahead, it looks, for the Sheffield Steel Dogs. One final one, apologies, I missed out. So Martin Susters, he's announced he's stepping away from the Peterborough Phantoms for the rest of the season. Suffered a concussion towards the back end of 2023, so he's taken some time away from the game. All the best to him. Hope he recovers, and with any luck for him and for Peterborough, he'll be able to ice again in the future. One addition this week, so that's Josh Hodgkinson, who's joined the Hull Seahawks. He's joined them from the Whitley Warriors. It seems there's a bit of a breakdown in communication with that one. So Hull announced it. Whitley then took to social media to say, "Ooh, interesting. That's the first we've heard about this." And then a little bit later said, "Oh no, it does appear as though there's been perhaps a bit of a mix-up in communication." But yeah, Hodgkinson has joined the Seahawks. So that's the movers around the league, comings and goings in terms of the players. But in terms of movement around the league, has there been much in the table? Well, let's get straight on to the scores from last weekend. So, fixtures started on the 4th, which, if I can remember correctly, was the Thursday night. It saw the Hull Seahawks kick the weekend off by hosting the Sheffield Steel Dogs. Close one in Hull, but the Seahawks did run out 4-3 winners. On to Saturday night, the Tigers hosted the Seahawks. A couple of goals for the Tigers in the first period, added one in the second period. It was all looking nice and straightforward. But, as Telford fans know, it's rarely that simple. And lo and behold, it was the case again. Hull pulled a couple back, so we finished the second period with a 3-2 lead. Then with just a couple of minutes to go, Jack Watkins made it 4-2. About 3 minutes left to go. Thank you very much. Nice, easy, points in the bag. About 30 seconds later, Svetch halves the deficit, makes it 4-3. And then Seahawks went for it, pulled the netminder, and despite the fact we had a few chances, Declan Barmer was just impossible to get past, blocked a few shots, but thankfully it didn't matter. The Tigers were able to hold on and record a 4-3 win, so a big win there for the Tigers on home ice. Other results, Solway Sharks hosted the Bristol Pitbulls, and this was a 6-4 win for the Sharks. So a big win for them, if we think about sort of where they are in the league, where Bristol are in that race for the playoffs. Knights hosted the Phantoms, and the Knights ran out 5-3 winners. Wildcats hosted the Raiders, and that was a 7-3 win for the Wildcats. And last but not least, Lightning hosted the Steel Dogs. Bit of a blowout, this one. 10-1 to the Lightning. I think we'd all accept that the Lightning have got forwards who can put points up, but that is a pretty big win. Judging by the reports that I've seen of the game, it does sound as though it was perhaps a performance that we haven't always associated with the Steel Dogs. So again, perhaps going back to Tim Smith announcing that he's leaving. Signs of some worrying times there for Sheffield Steel Dogs, their fans, their supporters, and the players there. Sunday night, Seahawks hosted the Tigers. Would the Seahawks be able to get their revenge less than 24 hours later? Short answer is no. I'm very pleased to say, unsurprisingly. So Seahawks 2, Tigers 5. So a bit more comfortable, although to be fair, it was perhaps made a bit more comfortable with a couple of late goals, so an empty net goal from Finley Howes and Luka scoring in the final second of the game. Other results, Sharks hosted the Pitbulls for the second night in a row, and for the second night in a row, the Sharks won by a 2-goal margin. The only difference is each team scored a goal less on the Sunday night, so it was Sharks 5, Pitbulls 3. Phantoms hosted the Knights again. Doubleheader weekend for these two. And again, the result went the same way. Phantoms scored 1 on home ice, but the travelling Knights scored 4. So a 4-1 win there for the Knights to complete their 4-point weekend. Whilst we're on the subject of 4-point weekends, can't forget the Wildcats, who also got a 4-point weekend. They went to the Bees, and I think a bit of pond hockey must have broken out here. Bees 6, Wildcats 7. So high-scoring game where perhaps the forwards were having the better of that one, it looks fairly safe to say. And last but not least, Steel Dogs hosted the Raiders, and that was a 4-2 win for the Raiders. So, in terms of performance of the weekend, I'm going to give it to the Sharks, because a 4-point weekend against a team who are kind of around about where they are in the league, down towards the bottom, and sort of there's that race for the playoffs. I think that has got to give it sort of the result of the weekend for me, or the results of the weekend. Quickly step away from the National League. One other result to report upon. So the Tigers 2 were back in action. They hosted the Kingston Sharks on Sunday night. Pretty much one-way traffic this one, it would be fairly safe to say. Tigers 2, 10. Kingston Sharks 0. So shutout and plenty of goals there for the Tigers too. So great start to 2024 for them. That's the results. Now let's take a look to the upcoming weekend. It all kicks off, or faces off, I guess. Yeah, faces off Friday night as Solway Sharks host the Leeds Knights. Road win. Knights are going to win up in Solway. Saturday, Lightning host the Tigers. Lightning are going to win it. Could be tight. They could tear the Tigers apart, quite simply. I mean, that's the thing with Lightning. If their forwards suddenly get on a roll, then there's not many teams who are going to be able to keep them down to sort of manageable score lines. Hopefully they won't do that, but even if they don't, and I really do hope they don't, they did that earlier this season, not much fun, I still think the Lightning will take the points there. Pitbulls host the Sharks. Sharks to win. Sharks to win at Bristol. And get a couple more points on the board. It'd be a great result for them if they can. Pitbulls are capable of producing great results, but I do fancy the Sharks to win that one. Wildcats host the Bees. I'll go for a Wildcats win, although perhaps by a slightly different scoreline to what we saw on the Sunday evening, where it was Bees 6, Wildcats 7. But yeah, Wildcats will win on home ice. Raiders host the Seahawks. Tough one, this one, because Raiders just seem to have been picking up a little bit recently, and the Seahawks seem to have perhaps dropped off a little bit. But despite all that, I'm going to go for the Seahawks to win. And then finally, Steel Dogs host the Phantoms. Phantoms will win that one. On to Sunday night's fixtures. Tigers host the Steel Dogs. The Tigers will win. I'm struggling to see any other result with just how things are going up in Sheffield at the moment. I kind of hope it'd be a close game. Sheffield games have always been ones that I've looked forward to. We've often had some really good games against them. But with how it's going at the moment, I'm struggling to make a case for Sheffield to win that one. Wildcats host the Phantoms. Interesting one. Clash between teams in 3rd and 4th at the moment. And I am going to go for the Wildcats to win on home ice. They're going to beat the Phantoms. Bees host the Raiders. Tough one. But I will go for the Bees to edge it. But it's probably going to require overtime. Seahawks host the Lightning. Lightning can kind of find this kind of a trip tough on the road, but I'll go for the Lightning to win. And Knights are going to host the Pitbulls. The Knights will win that one. In terms of fixture to look out for next weekend, I am going to pick that Bees hosting the Raiders one. I think that's a really interesting fixture and one to definitely look out for. As always, let me know what you think about my predictions, what you think about the key game or the key games for the upcoming weekend are. Look forward to hearing from you. Until next week, bye for now.